Okay, so I'm gonna get started here. This is totally impromptu. I did a computer upgrade. I upgraded my motherboard. Actually, I upgraded my CPU. I don't know if I messed something up because my motherboard crashed shortly after. Then even my old CPU wouldn't work. Bottom line, I had to get a new motherboard. And somewhere along the way, I messed up my RAM. So this is after doing about 4 or 5 days of completely rebuilding my presets and everything in terms of OBS and a little bit of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Thank goodness that it kind of saves that stuff to the cloud. So that's pretty good. Also did a little bit of rework of the studio, if you can tell in the back, but the background's a little bit different. I did some painting and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull up the sim. And I am at JFK, and I'm just going to fly around New York in the Cirrus SF50 because I love it, and it's fast, and I'm just going through some stuff. So I guarantee that we'll have forgotten to hook something up, and that's just how that rolls. I'm going to bring the music up a little bit because I like doing the music. Hey, there's that guy. So let me go ahead and turn the brakes off and make sure the flaps are up. And I need to figure out where I am on the runway. And that guy just took off right past me. Well, I'm gonna stick to the taxiways. You know, that guy's doing cross country. I love this jet. It is a lot of fun, and I'm still kind of getting used to it. So my upgrade was kind of neat. I went to a 4070 Ti. I'm still getting a feel for that. It is a marginally better card than my 3080 Ti, but it uses significantly less power. And it does perform better in theory. I have access to DLSS 3, although I haven't really been impressed with that. It makes things kind of blurry. Let's see here. Now I'm just out in the middle of the tarmac too. Let's see where I am here. Okay. I'm going to do like a mid. There we go. There's my little green dots. The runway. Whoa, that dude is bouncing all over the place. Alright. Wheels on the ground. Throttle up. So the guy's taking off. There's a lot of people out tonight. We'll see how my performance is. I've changed some of my OBS settings. Big old funk. bit of static in my audio. I'm using a DB cable, and I may need to set my latency on that. Bring the music down just a little bit. I'm just gonna fly around New York City here. I don't have my FPS counter up. I kind of don't want to know right now. This is just an overall systems check. Like, for example, right before I signed on, I realized that I had not plugged in my pedals. So there's that. Just to kind of make sure everything's okay. Equipment failures suck. That is for sure. So basically right now what I'm doing is I'm running the Cirrus Jet. I believe I'm in all ultra settings. Got OBS. Bring the sim volume down just a bit. I've got OBS running at 1080 with 60 frames. And I'm doing 10,000 kilobits. So we'll see how it says I'm doing. Check out my stream help here. Stream is helping. I don't think I'm dropping any frames, but I'm going to get close to the ground. That's where the number crunching is. I need to slow down. Holy crap. So this plane will absolutely blow up. Let me get my speed back down. And normally I like to fly around this area with the G2 helicopter. I can say right now, I can't tell necessarily what you guys are seeing, but I am not getting any stutters that I can see. Oh, there's a little bit of one. And as I get closer to these buildings, I'm going to definitely see, like I said, there's going to be some more number crunching here. But that's kind of the whole point of this. So what did I upgrade? I upgraded to i9 13900K and a 4070 Ti. And I am still, if I were to pull up my FPS counter, it would still say limited by main thread. Now, right now, like I said, I am running all ultra, I'm pretty sure. Double check that. Yep, all ultra DX12. I haven't changed any of this stuff. No, that's not true. I've pulled my render scaling down a little bit. That's down a little bit. I think that normally would be at 200. Unlike the G2, it's harder to see under you. And I find this thing a little bit kind of hard to trim out. But like I said, I want to stay kind of low because I kind of feel like New York, Chicago, the big cities, close to the ground, that's where things get pretty crunchy. But I gotta say, I am pretty happy with this. I am trying to get my trim wheel to go up, but it is not. There we go. It's a little better. Yep, there's a little bit of a micro stutter there, especially on the turn. But I'm pretty happy with this, as long as my stream health is okay. And that's the thing, trying to do this and stream at the same time from the same PC while running 500 Air Manager. There's a ton of planes out there. Everybody's out. It's a good night to fly. I'm doing real time, but not real weather. I've got the weather set to clear. I didn't want to deal with clouds and rain and wind and all that kind of stuff. The other thing I did was, this was kind of interesting, I added I think it's Star Track, STARTRAK, I believe is the brand. It's a USB to HDMI, because I added a 5th screen. I normally have a camera set up with the rear view. I don't have that tonight, but I will get it up. I have a 5th panel, so I have my panel in front of me. I have 2 panels on my desk that I use for Air Manager. I've got another panel off to the right, that way, that I use to monitor YouTube. And now I've got a panel flat on my desk, and I've got it running OBS. That's where I have OBS going. So that's 5 panels. Air Manager, Microsoft Flight running at Ultra, except for the pulled back on some of the level of detail. Everything else is Ultra, and I am pretty happy with this. And again, I love this jet. Now when I fly, and I'm not streaming, I don't have it to where the G3000s are picking up the screen. I fly where I'm sitting much higher, because it's duplication. I had that on my monitors in front of me. Let's see how low I can get. I love flying on the streets in the helicopter. That is my favorite thing. Again, you have to watch out with this jet. It will break up. That's just gorgeous. That really is just awesome. I need to learn how to do screenshots, because I don't know. I have GeForce drivers, but I don't have GeForce experience. And I don't know if there's an Xbox screenshot thing or not, but I guess I could try that. So I'm not running DLSS 3, which you can do with the 4000 series cards. Man, I just didn't get enough of a performance boost to make it worth my while. And the AI where it upscales, I'm sorry, it is noticeably worse. I can see if you're just all about frame rate, that may be the way to go, but the detail goes away, even though it's supposed to be, it definitely will improve your performance, but I don't think it improves it that much. It's not like it doubled my frame rate. So I had a person asked me about the frame generation thing, how to do that. You have to enable hardware accelerated GPU something within Windows before you can have access to that. And what that supposedly does is it adds a frame in between frames. Again, an AI generated thing to give you boosted frame rate. But again, I don't think it looks good. I don't think it makes it smoother because and actually if it's skipping and stuttering, it doesn't eliminate that. So the only thing you can do to eliminate stuttering is to dial back on, from ultra to high end to medium, or, buy better hardware. I mean, that's really it. There's no tricks. This thing needs to crunch numbers. It needs to do some math. And the only way you can do that is with the right hardware.
500.
Now, I feel like this is a pretty sharp picture. I don't game in 4K, and I certainly don't stream in 4K. I'm not going to take a chance. It's too long to reload. I was going to try to go down that road.
500.
I just purchased some of the biplanes on Microsoft Marketplace. I'm gonna start trying to get into some of that. That looks a lot of fun. Look at that. Look at the moon. That's reflecting off the water. That's just crazy. I got asked about the 4070 Ti versus the 4080 or the 4090, what my thoughts were. And I will say this. I'm running a Z690 motherboard. It's not the best, but it's a solid board. It's it does a good job. I'm running DD4 memory, so that's not the fastest memory, and I'm not running the fastest DD4 memory. But I do have right now, I believe, the fastest Intel chip until the 14th gen come out, and I am throttled, and 64 gigabytes of RAM, and I am limited by main thread. So I'm limited by what my computer is doing in terms of everything but the graphics card, if I'm understanding that correctly, and if I'm not, let me know. But so if I'm understanding this, it's not my graphics card that's keeping me from running, higher frame rates. To eliminate that last little bit of a micro stutter, it's the processing. And if you went from 12th to 13th gen and you had the right motherboard, all you had to do was update your BIOS and you were fine. When the next chips come out though, that's the whole new board. I bet you they don't have DD4. That's going to trigger the whole hardware thing. So I may not upgrade to that. That's a big upgrade. So for me, the 4070 is by far the sweet spot for the 4000 series card. You could make a really compelling argument that the way to go would be to buy a used 3080 or 3080 Ti. I think the 3090s are still going for kind of a lot. I have the 3080 Ti that I pulled out upgrade from. I still have it. I looked on eBay and I see a bunch of them going for around 6 with bids, or 5 something with bids. And That's almost not worth it for me to get rid of. I'm thinking about building another machine and maybe using it for Forza, building a racing sim. I have it. I haven't loaded it up on this machine yet. But the 4070, I bought it from Micro Center. They had a ton of them in stock. They ranged, on the day I went, from 700 to 1050. And I didn't get too in the nitty-gritty about what the differences were. Honestly, I went with the more on the upper end of that because it was an Asus card, and since EVGA is not around anymore, I have decided that Asus is my brand. I may change on that. And the card that I picked had just some better aesthetic stuff. It was a stupid reason to do that. But you can get a 4070 Ti for 8-ish. And the 4080s are going for what? 14? 15, and the 4090s are going for 17, 18, 19. I'm not seeing I don't know that that's worth it. I really don't know that that's worth it. In some cases, double the price as it relates to Microsoft Flight Simulator, because if I'm limited by my CPU with the 4070, then I'm assuming it would be the same with the 4090. And again, if I'm calculating this wrong, somebody please let me know. But when I put up my FPS counter, it says limited by main thread. Now, when I had my 3080 Ti, it would say that in red, and it would just stay solid red, limited by main thread. Now it kind of flashes green, but it's still 80%, 90% limited by main thread. So I feel like the 4070 Ti right now is the way to go. If you're coming from a 2000 series card, then I would say it's a good time to upgrade, and the 4070 is worth it. If you have a 3080 or a 3080 Ti or a 3090 and you paid pandemic pricing for it, hold on to it. You're not going to get your money back. Take a break from upgrading stuff and wait till the 5000 series cards come out, or wait till the 4000 series cards start hitting the used market. That's what I would do. I love flying around New York. Yeah, so on DLSS, this would all have a slight blur, not blur, but almost like you want to like wipe your eyes or something, like you got something in your eyes. I don't think it's worth the hype. Now, I haven't tried my setup on anything other than Microsoft Flight Simulator, and currently, because of the big computer crash of 2023 at my house, I have not reloaded X-Plane 12. And so, buzz the runway.
Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink.
Again, on this plane, you got to watch
sink.
your speed, because this will break up in flight.
500. Don't sink.
So pull back on that throttle.
Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't.
I don't know the absolute stall speed.
Don't
That was a pretty
sink.
big stutter right there.
Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink.
Now I'm getting some
Don't
pretty big
sink.
stutters here.
Don't sink. Don't sink. Don't sink.
Look at this vegetation with these park lights. That's so cool. I am starting to get a little bit of some stuttering here. I don't think I've had any dropped frames on OBS. And YouTube is saying that the stream is healthy. Maybe I can try a landing somewhere. Let's see. Do a little touch and go kind of thing here. What's over here? How about KFRG? Let's try this out and see what happens. I'm not very good at landing this plane. I haven't got the stall speeds all figured out just yet. Let's see what happens here. How far away is that? That is not too terribly far away. 3 minutes. And I'm kind of high, so one nice thing about it, I think when you do clear weather for a preset, there's no winds and you don't have to worry about which end of the runway. Try a direct to KFRG. Let's see. KFRG inner activates. Lower. I'm going to slow up. I am not seeing it just yet. Let's bring up some tunes while I do this. You guys see it? Because I do not. But I am really close. I have stalled this thing on landing before. On my left. I'm just trying to get lined up for the runway. About 800 feet AGL. I'm getting that information from ForeFlight. I don't know how to get that from Microsoft, if that's even an option or not. It is. I'm not aware of it. I have not tried running frame generation in TAA. Well, I have, and it didn't help with stutters. I guess the way you would do that would be run it in TAA mode, but then not run ultra settings. So run lower settings like medium or maybe high end, depending on what you're running, Matt, and then try frame generation, because that's the only reason I could see making that work, is running at lower settings and then trying to make it do regular settings, if that makes sense. If you try to running at higher settings, I believe it'll still stutter and then add a frame after that stutter. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I haven't tried running it like medium in a while. I guess I could try that. Run medium, turn frame generation on, and see what happens. All right, let's see if I can line this up. I update my playlist too. Well, I think I'm like right on top of this one. I'm about to fly right over it. Oh man, I'm flying right over it. Hold on. Basically doing a midfield here, and I'm going to kind of go out and then do a real sharp turn. Like you would never do this in an actual plane. At least you're not supposed to. You're going to do this without breaking up or crashing or stalling. How are you running 5 monitors, Matt? Are you running any of those with the USB connector? I tried one USB connector. It didn't work. It was the Anchor one for 15 bucks. Would not work on my computer. I ended up ordering this StarTech thing, which may be the ones that Real Sim Gear uses. I'm not sure. It looks like it. And I had to install an actual driver. But it seems to be working like a charm. That's the screen that's flat on my desk. Oh, there we are. Finally. All right, let's see if I can do this. This is not how you should land a plane. I'm going to slow this thing down, lose some altitude. You can see by the PAPI lights, I am way high. 4 white. Hey, that lined up pretty well. Gear down. One thing that's weird about this plane, if you leave the gear up and you stop and then restart in this particular jet, it will start you with a wheel down or both wheels down. Down a little bit.
500.
All right, now I've got 2 and 2. I guess I am on the flight path. Let's see if I can hold that. Again, I have a really hard time. Now I went to 3, so I'm going to fly level.
Stall. Stall.
Hear it stalling? Stalled. Back on the flight path. I suck at this plane. I suck at it. Unlike the Cessna, you got to fly this all the way in. Because you'll just drop. You better crash. Back. Hey, that wasn't too bad. Let's see if I can take off. Flaps up, flaps up. Yeah, that's what I have. StarTAC. It's a regular USB-A 3.0 connector. I think it has 2 outputs on it. One is for 4K and one is for 1080, and I just use 1080. And I don't even have room in my case for a second GPU. I know some people do that. I do not. I have a card that's a capture card for my cameras. I run 2 cameras and sometimes 3, and I have to have a card. The USB to HDMI dongle things are just problematic. If you are thinking about streaming, I highly recommend CamLink Pro from Elgato. I'm not sponsored or anything like that, but it's a great card, and it's PCI, and just it's perfect. It's a perfect card. Yeah, let me know when you get your 4070, Matt, because I think you're gonna like it. Again, I think it's a good card, and it looks like you paid basically a normal street price for it, so that's cool. I hated that EVGA is out of the business because I really like their gear. I think their cards are great. But I'm going to try these Asus Tough cards for a while. And I'm probably paid for something I didn't need to pay for, but I like the bling. I love my case, the way it looks. My kid and I both have similar builds. I'm also actually going to be switching to a 32-inch monitor from a 40-inch TV. I actually got something, and it's on its way, and it's got G-Sync and all that, and I'm going to try all that out. I don't know if that's going to make a difference or not.
500.
In the G2 helicopter, this is the bomb. And this really right here, this is where you get some serious number crunching in again, because I think nighttime stuff is harder on MSFS than day. Of course, it's New York, so there's that. Matt, do you have a channel then? Is that? I will subscribe if you do. Unless I've already subscribed. I may have already subscribed. I will definitely check your channel out. Now see, if this was, again, you can see on these buildings how sharp the corners are. I think DLSS takes that away. It's not in your face, but it's there. I find it harder to fly from this view because you don't get the depth perception, but it's just a gorgeous view. does a good job with like the baseball fields and all of that. No, that's much appreciated. Yeah, I mean, these videos have been around. People have been doing videos for a while, but with X-Plane 11, and then when Microsoft 20 came out, just exploded. I don't know if it's the pandemic but and then the fact that you couldn't buy anything, but it just, I don't know if that just makes people want things more. But the videos, people are just begging for information. How do you do this? Hey, I was certainly one of them. So thanks for doing that stuff. I like answering questions myself.
500. 500.
Gotta pull back on that speed. I need to get some Pilot Edge videos up. I'm not quite used to this plane enough. I still do that in the Cessna. This, but it's not going to be pretty.
500.
I'd like to do this in some of the biplanes that they have, like the racing planes. I think this would be a lot of fun. I'm afraid to even put up that FPS counter right now. It would not be good, but I'm gonna. So options, and we'll play with some settings and just see what happens. Developer mode on. There we go. Alright, so let's see. Look at that. 22 frames. 25 frames. This is even with my other processor. So again, I'm running the 13900K. My 12700K, this is about where it ran too, and it's saying limited by main thread. So this is not my video card causing this. It is definitely, or I believe it's definitely everything else. So memory, CPU, the board. So let's try. Alright, first I'm just going to try some basic old... I'm going to just see what happens with that. Low end. So this is low end. And I added about 10 frames per second.
500.
Seems like it's still working. So now what I'll do, so I'm on low end. I'm gonna bring the level of detail down. Right now, I'm gonna keep that at 100. That's at 100. So look at that, 25 and 25 for level of detail. So now though, let's come up here on TAA. Frame generation. Let's turn it on. Just see what happens. Plane explodes, I'll be upset. And nothing. So if it's doing something, I can't tell. Maybe bumping it up to 40, but I'm not seeing the from 30 to 60. The lighting effects still look pretty good. Let's try this. I am gonna try DLSS Ultra Performance. Frame generation off. So if you look up here, you can see
500.
where it's saying render 640 by 360. So it's rendering really, really crappy resolution, and then it's upscaling that. And you can see how all of a sudden everything looks bad. I mean, just blurry. See how the loss of detail there is on these straight lines? Everything looks like it's slightly out of focus. And I'm still running 35 frames per second. So I'm not sure that Microsoft Flight Simulator takes advantage of these technologies. I know they were in the commercial, but I'm not seeing it. Let me try adding frame. So now I'm in DLSS, super resolution, ultra performance. That means that's DLSS turned up to the max. It's causing it to render at 640 by 360. If you look as I change it, let's try performance. And now it's gone to 960 by 540, so it's slightly less worse resolution, but so slightly less upscaling. And I think quality is an option. Let's try quality. And now it says 1280 by 720. So again, now, and let's see what happens here. I mean, we'll just try it. Nah, just not. Try the same on Ultra. Okay. Before I try it on Ultra, I want to try it on Ultra Performance with frame generation on, then I'll try it on Ultra. Frame generation, certainly not double my frames. Now, part of me, what I don't know is maybe those frame generation frames don't count on the FPS counter. I need to look that up, because it's not changing my FPS counter, and in theory I'm getting twice the frames. Alright, let me try on Ultra. Alright, I'm at Ultra Performance, frame generation off, Ultra. Let's see what happens. When you say that's right, are you saying that the frames aren't counted? This is Ultra. DLSS and ultra performance in DLSS. You can tell because it says 640 by 360 up here where it says render. It's making it to 1920 by 1080. It's upscaling from 640 by 360 to 1920 by 1080. And that looks like crap. To me, that looks very poopy. All right. 27 frames. So now let's try with frame generation on. This is with frame generation. I mean, that's pretty smooth. It is set to ultra. And again, I'm flying really close to the ground at night in New York, which is not where you spend most of the time. Oh, I haven't tried putting the afterburner. Is that MSI? The MSI afterburner? I haven't tried that. I'll have to try that. Now here's the one that confuses me. Here's the one that confuses me. Let me bring the music down just a little bit. I love this song. DLSS super resolution on, ultra performance, DLAA. Now look at this. I'm gonna hit apply and save. And now it says render 1920 by 1080, and then upscale is the same. So is this DLSS super resolution with DLA, is that the same thing as just that? And that I do not know. But this is where I like to run ultra TAA, apply and save, go back, resume. This to me is the best. It does have a little bit of a stutter. Gosh, look how much better it looks. It's like before, it's like a camera slightly out of focus. Let's see how low I can get. There's the helipad. It's where I spend a lot of my time. What I need to do is install MSS Afterburner and see MSI Afterburner rather, and see what happens. You can see I am definitely getting, I wouldn't even call them micro stutters, I would just call them the garden variety stutters, especially on the turns. But that's where it's doing a lot of work, is on the turns, especially unexpected sharp turns. It's not quite sure what you're going to do. Let me try ultra DLSS quality frame generation. DLSS. Yeah, that's what I was running before. I had it on that quality, which is the and frame generation on ply. No, I didn't have that on. But I have put it on quality before. It's now 26, and the question is it smooth? Let's find it.
$500.
Now, doing these sharp turns, that might be a little smoother. So you can see it's the 1280 by 720, and then it's rendering up to 1920 by 1080, upscaling rather. I can still see them and feel the stutters in this mode. They're not bad. None of these stutters are bad, even on Ultra. I mean, I've had it though where, like when I had my 1080 or my 3080, or actually when I started with this sim here, this 2020, I had a 2070 Super. And like over Chicago, I had to run medium with certain elements of that reduced. It was almost unplayable. I certainly couldn't do Ultra. Like I said, really sharp turn. That's what really brings out the stutters. And that, of all of them, that's probably one of the better ones. It didn't improve my FPS though. So if I go back, this Garden Variety Ultra, all of that, and then resume. That just seems to be the easiest and the best looking, and I can put up with the stutter. The only other thing I could think of would be to I mean 200 and 200. I can come down to 150 and 150. Leave everything else the same. And let's see if that makes a difference, at least at night. It may not. See, that didn't make a difference when I pulled the level of detail back. Well, maybe 2 or 3 frames, but that's marginal. Yeah, I'm sure I am too, Matt. The question is, that I ask myself is, if you have a stutter, does it duplicate the stuttered frame, meaning that you would then have 2 stuttered frames? That's what I would want to know. Or does it somehow extrapolate that out in such a way that that added frame smooths it out as well? That would be the thing. Yeah, so changing the level of detail, it bumped me up 2 or 3. Of course, I'm higher now. I go lower. And I'll try. Just do Ultra frame generation on, and let me just kind of see. it's funny that 2080, especially the 2080 Ti, and people were getting tons of money for that card at the beginning of the pandemic. It's still a viable card. The 2080 is still a viable card. You can put a 2080 in a machine, a decent machine, run full HD on medium to high settings, or put it on high and back down a couple settings, and get a totally playable game for sure. No problem. That's good chatting and hanging out. Russ, what are you thinking about upgrading to? That is looking a little smoother. Maybe there's something to this frame generation thing. Look at that though, main thread, just like red.
500.
Next time I do this, I will try that with the option, or just even just any other frame counter. and see if it picks it
500.
up.
500. 500.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this on for a little bit and just see. It does look a little bit smoother. I almost need to just turn the frame counter off because I'm sure that's influencing my opinion. In fact, I will say that it does not seem to be losing the detail that DLSS does. That was a big, but again, so when it just did that stutter, did that frame get duplicated as well? Or is it, or is the frame generation like a smart frame generation, and it either doesn't duplicate that frame or it does, smooths out the timing? It's hard to say. Thing about when you're in dev mode, I think you can't crash. All right, I'm going to try to land this one this time. Head over to JFK. zip high. Okay, here I come, so back down to speed. Looks like I'll be coming in on 1-3 right. Lose some altitude though. That's me to the far right. You cannot treat this like a Cessna. You have to fly this thing all the way to the runway, meaning that the 150 and the 172, once you've quote unquote made the runway, you can just pull throttle back and the 172 at least will glide all the way in. So will a Skycatcher 162. And those are the only two planes I've actually flown in real life. So now looking at that Pappy, it looks like I am below the glide path. I am not doing an ILS landing on this. Watch my speed. This is what I do. Gear down. Some white and red on the Pappy, but I can't tell what the blend is. I think I'm high. This is a lit runway. You know, that's one thing I wish Microsoft Flight would do, would be pilot controlled lighting. Oh, that's awesome. I would love to fly an RB-12. I'm way too high. I got one red. See, this is where you gotta be careful. It'll stall. I guess I can never get this thing trimmed out. So when you're flying a 172 and you're trimming all the way down, and that plane will land itself way, way high. Runway, so I think I can bleed this out. And I'm pulling power now at sea level. center line, but not bad. That was pretty smooth. And I got an exit coming up here. There it is. Look at all the planes out tonight. Good night for flying. Alright, I'm gonna call it right here. Step back. Brakes. Lights, camera, action. And back to here. Okay, well, thanks for sticking around tonight. Had a good time. Good talk about graphics cards and settings and all that. It's certainly a big topic when it comes to flight simulators. And if you have guys any questions or if there's anything that you want to know, certainly put a question in the comments below, or go to Matt's page and look at him too. He's answering questions too. But in any case, you guys have a great night, and I will catch you guys later.